Thanks for joining me on Life in Surround. Today it's finally time to review the latest album from Katatonia, Sky, Void of Stars. Now, I am primarily interested, per usual, in the multi-channel versions of this album. So I went in for the Woodbox deluxe set offered from Napalm Records. Now, that box sold out really quickly, so I feel kind of bad even reviewing the multi-channel versions of this album, except for the Atmos is on streaming services, Apple Music, in my experience, and then probably Tidal. Now, there is the chance that you could find the Woodbox from a private seller, so I recommend setting some watches on eBay, Discogs, Quadraphonic Quad, other usual sources. Comment below if you have some good sources for used surround physical titles. But on with the review. So I have been a fan of Katatonia ever since I got my copy of Great Cold Distance DVD audio with a 5.1 mix quite some time ago. I really love that album, particularly in stereo, but was disappointed in the 5.1 mix. So I was ecstatic when I learned that Bruce Sword had remixed it for the 10th anniversary set, and he absolutely nailed it. So I was also excited when I learned that he would be mixing the latest Katatonia album. Taking a look at the Blu-ray contents, we see that you get lossless stereo, 5.1, and Dolby Atmos. I chose the Dolby Atmos mix since I have a 7.2.4 home theater. Another positive feature of the Blu-ray, in my view, is the screen graphics. These ravens kind of like appear and disappear from the screen, and they have these glitchy moments. And since the raven is a strong symbol for the group, I think that really is some fitting eye candy. And that's the sort of thing that is not being done with streaming services. So it's another benefit of tracking down Blu-rays when they're offered. One thing I don't like about this Blu-ray is that the bonus track is tacked on to the end of the album. It begins right after the true album closer. And at least for me, it's not as strong a closer. But because there is no space between it and the previous song, and it's not in a separate menu, it becomes effectively the album closer on the Blu-ray. Does nobody think about these things from the end listener's perspective when they're producing these titles? Now, that said, the album sounds awesome in Atmos. As Bruce wrote me a while ago, it sounds massive, and I think that is accurate. But this is an album of contrasts, and so while this album does sound massive and dense during certain portions, it also sounds very spacious and airy during others, and sometimes even at the same time. So there's this very, very interesting tension between density and lightness and space, pretty much through this whole album. Certain passages favor density and certain passages favor airiness. So I really appreciate that. There's lots of dynamics here, both in terms of the arrangement and also just in the dynamic range of the music. It sounds very, very, very punchy, but can also be delicate too. So I think that's just an incredible balance to achieve. Another contrast that this album features is musically itself. You get these passages of just severely low, chugging, throbbing metal, juxtaposed, sometimes in the same song, with lighter, sparser, slower passages, often performed in a much higher register. So great use of the entire range of human hearing, as far as I can tell. And I would also say musically, this album is strongest for me since The Great Cold Distance. So I can't recommend this album enough. You can audition it in multiple different ways, from YouTube to Apple Music, Amazon Music, pick up a CD, a record, whatever floats your boat. And if you are interested in the multi-channel version of this album, you can check out Streaming Atmos. And never fear, if you have a system that can process legacy Dolby, Atmos is designed to be backwards compatible, and I believe you would hear a 5.1 Dolby Digital Core, or something to that effect. So I think that about sums this one up. I am disappointed that the only way to get this Blu-ray is in the deluxe wooden box, but for me at least, it wasn't that expensive to track down. Given that Bruce Sword is involved in this project, it was pretty much a must for me, and the price wasn't too far above what I consider to be reasonable to go ahead and pull the trigger. So I hope you can find a copy if you're interested. Please leave your comments below. Let us know if you're streaming, if you have a copy of the Blu-ray, if you're hunting for the Blu-ray, if you are enjoying the album in some other way, CD, LP, some other streaming service, YouTube. Just glad that you're enjoying this music, if you are. And if Katatonia is new to you, and if this album is an unknown for you, I encourage you to go audition it, check it out. I think there's much to really enjoy here. There are some, rather proggy, complex tunes, but then there are also ones that feel a bit more straightforward, like Colossal Shade. If you're looking for something that I consider accessible, maybe start with that track and see if you like the vibe of the band and go from there. I appreciate you watching. If you like what I do, please don't forget to like videos, subscribe if you haven't, ring the notification bell if you haven't. Leave comments so that others can share in your views of the music discussed here. And until next time, live life in surround.